Do this in the first 5 minutes so you don't kill the last 5 minutes.
Ask these key questions if you want to get those key answers.
And make sure you show up here for your buyers so that your sales can take them there. Put on your best seafaring garb and travel uncharted waters with us as we tackle discovery today on Full Funnel. Hey everyone, I'm Raj Nation, he's Tyler Lessard, and you're watching Full Funnel, the weekly show that's a hit with aunts, uncles, and in-laws the first time you bring us to dinner. Even though we're a hit with your parents, turns out only 20% of our viewers are actually subscribers. Are you one of that 80% who's not subscribed? If so, stop everything, hit the subscribe button right now. Brought to you by Sales Feed, Full Funnel is the only show that is faster than Domino's because we take one hot sales topic and slice it 3 ways and deliver it to you fresh in under 10 minutes. Today's order, the perfect discovery call. Top funnel. All right, so you're running a discovery call, but are you really running it or just showing up and hoping for the best? Now, Tyler, you've been in the buyer's seat many times, so what have you appreciated being the person who's being sold to in discovery?
Well, before the discovery call even starts, I like to ensure I know what I'm getting into so I can make the most of every second during that call, whether I'm the buyer or the seller. So as a buyer, I actually appreciate getting some information ahead of the discovery call to set the context for what we're going to want to talk about and what kind of outcomes we're hoping for at the end of that call. That gives me an opportunity to do a little bit of preparation, just like the sales rep is going to ensure we get the most out of every minute on that call. And a big piece to this as well, of course, is setting the agenda when we do hop on that call to make sure that we stick to it and we get what we were looking for.
That's my big thing, is setting an agenda up front. You can also, even in the calendar invitation, just give a little blurb beforehand so they have some idea of what's going to happen in that meeting. It's a great way to not only set the terms for what's going to happen today, but the trick that I love doing most in that agenda is being able to tease out next steps right at the beginning of the call. You can say in your agenda, you get through it and then you say, and just a heads up, if we feel like there's a fit on both sides, typically a next step looks like blank. And then guess what? When you get to your end of the call, that last 5 minutes, you're not left saying, so what are your next steps from here, right? You can tell them, hey, remember earlier we talked about if there was a fit, these would be the next steps? I'm feeling a fit. Are you feeling a fit? Great. So let's go ahead and plan out those next steps. You save face in the last 5 minutes if you cover your ass in the first 5 minutes. Big fun.
We all know the point of discovery is to uncover your prospect's problems. At least, I hope we all know that. Now, it's easy in theory, but in practice, it sometimes goes a little sideways. Raj, what are some of your favorite tips for how to make sure you uncover those problems that your prospect is having today?
I think the biggest thing I've come across in working with a lot of different sellers is this almost like goldfish-itis, where you ask a question and then they give you a really good response, and then you don't even act like you heard that response, and instead you just go off to another question you know you need to ask at some point in your discovery anyways. And so it's like you have so much good information at hand that you could dive deeper on, and it's like, okay, great, so what's your timeline for this, right? You just like jump off to another question that isn't even related. Sit with the prospect. Actually be curious, right? When they tell you something interesting, ask them to dig deeper on it. Say, tell me more about that, things like that, right? Can you flesh it out entirely to understand the true nature of their situation? Tyler, any favorite discovery questions that you like giving or that you've liked being asked?
Well, there's a few that pop up as my favorite. The first is early on, you want to ask, what made you take this call? Or why did you reach out in the first place? To start to get a little bit more of that context behind the why that they're spending their time to talk about this with you. The second one that I love is the question, tell me about the time when you realized this was a problem. By asking that, you're not only acknowledging that you heard the problem they spoke to, but it allows them to tell a bit of a story about the context for when that was realized as an issue. And that can actually uncover a lot of other ideas for you if you understand their situation surrounding the problem, not just the problem itself. And finally, my third favorite question is, how have you tried to solve this problem in the past? Ask about previous solutions that they've invested in or ways they've tried to solve it, so you can ensure that when you present your solution, it's something different than what they've actually tried to do in the past.
I want to come back to that first one that you mentioned around what made you take this call or what made you reach out. One of the ways that I love doing it myself and then also teaching others is to almost like hedge against any fuzzy responses in that and ask it in a way where you say to them, I'm curious, how come we're having this call now? And we didn't have it like 2 months ago, or, like we're not having it 2 months from now. Because what you're going to get with that kind of a question is a response that paints a picture of a series of events that led to this moment and more events coming out of this moment. When you ask it in that format, you're way less likely to get a response that's like, oh, we were just looking around and we were interested in some software, right? You might get a story that tells them, well, this thing happened at our company and this new directive came from the CEO. And so now we're on this roadmap to get to this point in the next few months. Now you've got a whole picture of their journey.
Bottom fun.
Now that you're at the end of your call, you're likely trying to move this opportunity forward. But does it really matter what you want to get done if you don't know how your buyer likes to, buy things? Well, if you go back to what I said in Top Funnel about how if you save face in the last 5 minutes, if you cover your ass in the first 5 minutes. What you want to do at this point is avoid the question, so what are your next steps from here? It's too open-ended, and a lot of times prospects haven't thought through their entire buying process, or they actually don't even know how they buy, right? That's why I recommend, in addition to mapping out the next step, you map out for them what a typical path to purchase looks like at your company, and then you ask them, how does that align with your buying process? Because then what you're going to find out is, are you here? Are you here, or are you aligned perfectly? And if you're not aligned perfectly, well, then you can talk through how do you get to that meshing together. Tyler, what are we missing here in understanding the buying process?
Well, one of the other items you can bring up at this point is understanding whether or not there is budget available for a solution like yours. Now, for some, it may seem a little early to have the budget conversation, but this is your chance to get behind the scenes to know if there is allocated budget or if there is an alternative solution in place that has budget towards it that you may be able to pull from. Now, if the customer says there is no budget allocated and they're not going to have anything for the rest of the year, don't fret. That's just going to give you some signals to help you understand how you might need to navigate this deal and what kinds of other questions you might need to ask in the next phase of discovery and presentation. Now, this whole topic of discovery calls is actually a pretty in-depth one once you peel back the layers, which is why SalesFeed just launched a new episode of Sales Stuff Explained all about discovery calls. Raj, I know you checked it out. What did you think?
It is fantastic. This is television quality production, and it is an in-depth look at everything you need to know about running a successful discovery call. So make sure you go head over to the other part of the SalesFeed channel and watch that right now. It's Sales Stuff Explained, specifically tackling the discovery call. And included there is a downloadable cheat sheet to make sure your next discovery call is a success.
The close.
In Top Funnel, we covered structuring your call. Make sure you set an agenda up front and even send that agenda beforehand.
In mid-funnel, we talked about uncovering their problems and the questions that you can ask to get there.
And in Bottom Funnel, we covered matching your sales process with their buying process. Remember, if you don't understand how they buy, it's not going to matter how you sell. Our funnel is full. We hope you can get back out there now and fill up yours. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe before you head out of here. He's Tyler Lessard. I'm Raj Nation. You have been watching Full Funnel exclusively on SalesFeed. We will catch you next time, but in the meantime, remember, images on your screen are enlarged to show texture. Actual sizes may vary.